Captain's log, stardate 00783.8. Deimos has rendezvoused with the civilian science ship Cadmus at the request of the renowned astrophysicist Sarah Perry. Reason? Unknown. But one does not ignore the request of a woman such as Sarah Perry.
And this is why I brought you here, gentle beings.
Sagittarius A, the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy. Radiation and gravitic disturbances are so great as to make it the single most dangerous astrogational hazard known. It is also known by the apt moniker, the Sleeping Dragon.
Why is that?
Because every couple of million years, it spews out a plume of hot gases that destroys life on every habitable planet from 200 to 20,000 light years away.
Are we due for such an outburst?
Unlikely, Captain. Current projections suggest stability for the next 3,000 years.
And under normal circumstances, those projections would be correct.
Normal. And thereby hangs the tale.
And it's quite the tale, Doctor.
Do tell.
Dr. Perry happens to have spent her entire life making this sort of unfounded, unsubstantiated prediction.
And these grandiose plans to stop the end of the galaxy as we know it.
Gentlemen,
It's all right, Captain. I've heard this sort of criticism ever since I began preparing for this type of disaster. And honestly, some of it is fair. But all I ask is that you review my data, my calculations, and above all, the sensor readings from the magnetar.
Magnetar? What magnetar?
Oh, the one that's on a collision course with Sagittarius A. When it hits, it will cause a particle fountain that will literally tear the galaxy apart. All life on all habitable planets will be extinguished.
Captain's log supplemental. Following the meeting with Dr. Perry, I have ordered the Deimos to take our scout ship aboard and proceed at maximum warp to a projected interception point with a magnetar that is on a collision course with the galactic center, 17 hours away. Our course of action? Unclear.
Captain, on the bridge.
Report?
It is exactly as Dr. Perry has reported. The largest magnetar, one beyond all previously measured, is on a direct collision course with Sagittarius A.
I wish I were wrong, Captain. I've spent all my life preparing for just such an event, and yet I find I am totally unprepared.
All right. Let's see what you got.
As you can see, the gases are ripped from the magnetar's surface, but the mass remains intact as it enters the event horizon. Next, a massive explosion. The event horizon recovers, and the magnetar material erupts out, cutting right through the heart of the Alpha Quadrant.
Won't that take 20,000 years? We should have plenty of time to relocate.
Except that this eruption is focused through a gravitic lens into subspace. Within 5 years, you'll have a total life extinction event for the Alpha Quadrant. The fountain will tumble out of rotation, and within 16 years, the entire galaxy will be totally decimated. No life, no stars, just a morass of ejected material. It'll be an intergalactic dead zone.
All right. All hell breaks loose. So how do we stop?
The Cadmus.
I'm sorry, Dr. Perry, but your scout ship couldn't stop a decent-sized asteroid, let alone a magnetar. The magnetic fields would rip you and your ship into a pile of quarks once you're within a half an AU of it.
Cadmus's screens, shields, and warp drive were retrofitted about 40 years ago during an age when protection, discretion, and speed were required.
When encounters with Romulans, Klingons, Gorn, and Orions were best avoided by civilian vessels?
Precisely. When I realized the dangers presented by the galactic core, I augmented my vessel's key systems. The Cadmus is more than capable of withstanding an encounter with the magnetar for long enough.
Long enough for what?
For whatever's necessary.
Captain, sectors Q4, Q5, and Q7, all negative. Magnetic signature was detected in Q6, but does not match the parameters of any known object.
Would require further study, wouldn't you say, Will?
Grandma Sarah?
Gentlemen, Will is my grandson.
Navigator, lock on the object Ensign Perry detected. We must intercept it while we can.
Yes, Captain. Modifying our interception point.
Helm, can you increase...
No, he cannot, sir. Not without disabling the ship before we get near enough to try to stop that thing.
Understood, engineer. Maintain speed.
Aye, sir. Maintaining maximum warp.
Dr. Perry, Duffy, Shepard, to the briefing. Mr. Warren, and Dr. Patrick joins.
Aye, Captain.
Zikara, you have the con. So, getting to the point. Dr. Perry, how do you propose we save the galaxy?
We can't.
We have an obligation to try something, anything.
The laws of physics still apply, even in the center of the galaxy or the heart of a magnetar.
There is one possibility. The Cadmus shields will hold long enough to deliver an antimatter charge to the heart of that magnetar.
Why don't we just unload our entire payload of photon torpedoes into its path?
They would be ripped apart by the gravity of the event horizon of Sagittarius A and the magnetic fields of the magnetar before they could even affect the magnetar. The same holds true for your science ship, Doctor. I'm sorry, but it won't work.
It will work, Mr. Duffy. The Cadmus is more heavily shielded than any ship in Starfleet. It will deal the death blow, so to speak. The Cadmus can deliver the required antimatter payload.
So, we can remotely guide the Cadmus to the target and inject the antimatter payload directly into the magnetar. That's a great plan. I like it. Zikara, prepare the Cadmus for
Captain, that
remote
will not
operations.
work. The magnetic radiation from the magnetar interferes with subspace radio. We could not retain control of the Cadmus.
Belay that, Zikara, and stand by. Well, Dr. Perry, what is your plan?
You're not going to suggest that a pilot take the Cadmus on a one-way trip. That's murder.
Suicide, actually, Doctor. I am more than capable of completing this mission.
But can't we just beam you back as you reach the magnetar? Or program a course into the computer to drop off the payload?
No one could survive the transporter process through the magnetic fields, nor would I trust the ship's computers to not have their higher logic functions disrupted.
Well, Dr. Perry, it seems a die has been cast. It would appear that we have no alternative.
We've reached interception point.
The whole behemoth.
Truly is a monster.
Time remaining until the magnetar hits the event horizon.
3 hours, 12 minutes, 14 seconds.
Grandma!
Dr. Patrick, Report to the bridge.
Captain's log, stardate 00784.2. Deimos is maintaining course and speed. We have a plan, a means of saving the galaxy. And the woman that we need to accomplish that plan is lying in sickbay. Her heart failing.
She's going to need heart replacement surgery immediately. I've got Dr. Ryder programming a cardiac replacement unit, and we'll get started as soon as she's ready.
There's no time. We must destroy the magnetar.
How long will the surgery take, Doc?
About 4 hours, but she's not a young woman. The recovery time will be a few days.
We don't have a few days.
We have 2 hours and 41 minutes.
2 hours and 41 minutes to save the galaxy, Doc. Can you get her on her feet long enough to pilot that ship of hers?
I'm not sure I can keep her conscious for the next 5 minutes, let alone enough to do what's expected of her.
I can do it. My parents were killed in a tragic lab accident when I was a child. My grandma took me in, raised me on the Cadmus. I can pilot that ship in my sleep.
Will, you're a good pilot. Better than me even. But you cannot complete this mission. I must be the one to destroy the magnetar.
And it sounds like both of us are needed, Grandma.
I won't permit it, Will.
You don't have any other choice the way I see it. Either we go together and save the galaxy, or we don't. And all life will be extinguished.
Captain, you can't be seriously considering allowing these two people to sacrifice their lives.
To save the galaxy? You better believe I would. That's our mission, our duty. If they hadn't volunteered, I would have ordered them to go.
I made my decision, Captain. We need to get moving.
Doctor, please, give me something. Anything. Just keep me going for another few hours. After that, it won't matter whether we're successful or not.
Cordrazine, 5 cc's. God forgive us.
He might not if they fail. Status report. And yellow alert, all stations.
Yes, Captain.
Engines are holding steady, Captain. There's some subspace field variance, but we're handling it well enough.
Approaching galactic center navigation hazard zone.
Magnetic disturbances, hot gases, gravitational anomalies. It's chaotic in there at best.
And it's only going to get worse.
Doesn't it always?
To my knowledge, Science Officer Duffy has never said it's going to get better.
Agreed.
Our weapons officers have finished loading the antimatter bottles onto the Cadmus, Captain. They're sealing the hatches and clearing the flight deck.
Acknowledged.
Captain, Dr. Perry from the Cadmus.
Captain here, Doctor.
We finished our launch preparations, Captain.
Cadmus requests departure clearance, sir.
Permission granted. Godspeed, Cadmus. Time until Cadmus reaches the magnetar.
48 minutes, sir.
Personal log. The Cadmus is en route to its fate, its destiny, its destruction. Deimos is maintaining a parallel course to monitor its mission. If necessary, if the Cadmus fails in its attempt, I am prepared to attempt the same maneuver with the Deimos. We cannot afford to allow the magnetar to destroy our galaxy. Shields to maximum.
We are being held. It's faint. I'm trying to clear it up.
On screen.
Aye, sir.
Harry to Deimos. Cadmus is still on course. Expected rendezvous with the magnetar in 11 minutes. Magnetar is highly unstable. It won't take as much antimatter as I had calculated.
Take that as a warning, Captain.
Weapons offline.
Maintain full power to shields.
Maneuvering thrusters non-functional.
Sensors are intermittently offline and unreliable. Higher logic functions are impeded.
Engineer, emergency power. All right, tell me what works.
To be honest, Captain, almost everything is working. But it's the relays between systems. It's as Mr. Duffy says, they're intermittent.
Life support is operating in the forward starboard part of the ship and the aft engineering.
Captain, we have ship-wide communications.
Good. Direct all crew to move to designated life support areas.
We are receiving a hail from the Cadmus. We still have visual.
On screen. Dr. Perry, what is your status?
Our interception point with the magnetar is 4 minutes from now.
How is the Deimos faring, Captain?
Oh, minor malfunctions throughout the ship. Nothing to be concerned.
The magnetic radiation, no doubt. You must put more distance between the magnetar and the Deimos. And remember, you must pull away at your highest possible speed 15 seconds before contact. You must get out of here and warn Starfleet in case we fail. I have to rest now. Will knows what to do.
Message from the Cadmus, text only. It's time to go now. That's all, sir.
Navigator, get us out of here.
Aye, sir.
Helm, best speed.
Best speed, acknowledged. We are in extreme sensor range of the black hole and the magnetar.
Mr. Warren, hail the Cadmus. No. Hail the Dragon Slayer.
The professor is responding.
On screen.
Doctors say those things will kill you, Grandma.
I've heard that one before.
In the age of dragons, I will never regret raising the Dragon Slayer.
Sir, we have an energy wave approaching.
Maintain course, shields, and speed. Are we gonna make it?
The energy wave appears to be dissipating. Impact in 6, 5,
All personnel,
4,
brace for impact.
3, 2, 1.
Surely this was a good way to die. In the place of everyone else. Some who were loved, some who were unloved, those who were unknown, and those who will never know. Gentlemen, take us home.
Aye, sir.
Sir.
Sensor beams, full power on the deflectors.
AG section, we're showing only 4.5.
And the entire crew has been touched by the sacrifice of both Dr. and Ensign Perry. Service to be held today in the torpedo room. At 1300, post the honor guard, pallbearer, and piper. At 1330, pass the word, all hands bury the dead, and issue officer's call. And at that point, have the helm neutralize the engines.
I beg your pardon, Captain. Something I thought you should know.
Go ahead, Commander.
Are you sure?
Yes, Phil. She's a command trainee. If you have something to say, I want her to hear it.
The science department analysis of the magnetar is complete. According to every model we've run, it was about the supernova. It would never have made it to the galactic core. The sacrifice of the Cadmus and the Perrys was unnecessary. Tim, I don't know how to make this easy for you. Those two people died for nothing.
We did not know that at the time.
We did not. It wasn't until we got the telemetry from the Cadmus 11 minutes before detonation.
How long did it take astrophysics to make this determination?
2 days. If only we'd had more time.
But we didn't. We were on a literal deadline. We had to make a decision. You know, there's an old saying, hindsight is 20/20.
What does that mean?
It's an old medical phrase. 20/20 means perfect eyesight.
It means that we can always look back at an event, look at our choices, and see how we could have had a better outcome.
In this case, had we been able to get the analysis sooner from astrophysics, those two people would be alive today.
Today, we're symbolically committing the bodies of two heroes to space. Were I faced with the same decision today, based on the same information that we had at the time, we would all do the exact same thing. And so would those two brave souls. Never forget that.
And the crew?
I have Mr. Duffy's report with the ship's news feed. The crew deserves to know.
Before or after services?
Do it immediately. I think you'll find it doesn't make a difference to the crew. They all know those people are heroes.
I didn't mean to imply they weren't. Oh, and I know it probably doesn't matter to you, but I think you did the right thing. We had to act on the information that we had at that time.
Thanks, Bill. That means a lot. After the ship's engines are neutralized, the assembly will come to attention and the torpedo casings will be lowered onto the launch rail. After launch, the crew will be dismissed and turn about their daily duties.